which then, so my dysfunction took away his freedom. And I mean, when God finally showed me that, I was like...
A trusted Christian television network, one that millions invited into their homes daily, suddenly fractured by secrets too painful to hide. What happens when the very family leading a faith empire becomes the source of a devastating scandal? One of the biggest names in American Christian media, Joyce Meyer, made the dramatic decision to pull her long-running program from this network, sending shockwaves through the industry. But the real story is far more complicated and far more alarming than a simple contract ending. What forced her out, and what does it say about the power plays behind the scenes? The unraveling begins. The unity that once defined one of the world's largest Christian television networks shattered unexpectedly, sending shockwaves through the faith community. At the center of the turmoil was a haunting accusation made by a family member, one that threatened not only the family's reputation, but the foundation of the entire ministry. This was no ordinary conflict. It cut deep into the heart of the Daystar network, known for projecting an image of warmth and togetherness. Yet behind the scenes, what appeared as a tightly knit family was fracturing under the weight of unseen secrets. The accusation came from Jonathan Lamb, the network's vice president and son of the founders, who claimed a serious betrayal within his own family. According to Jonathan and his wife, Susie, the couple confronted the family leadership with troubling allegations involving a relative and their young daughter. What made this situation so incendiary was what followed. The family's response, or as Jonathan alleges, their refusal to believe and protect the child. This clash between loyalty to family and justice is what set Daystar on a path of public collapse. While the specific details of the allegations remained closely guarded, the ripples extended far beyond the family circle. The accusations exposed divisions that had long been simmering beneath the surface, thrusting them into public view in a way no one could have anticipated. As the story unfolded, the network had to face questions about transparency, accountability, and the very nature of trust it had built with its viewers. The invisible fracture lines under their once unified table suddenly became impossible to ignore. This crisis did not emerge in isolation. It arrived at a moment when the ministry was already navigating significant changes. The founder's son, expected by many to eventually lead, found himself sidelined in a power shift that only deepened the family divide. And as voices from inside and outside the family began to rise, others' trusted faces linked to the network quietly reconsidered their place at the table. The unspoken question looming over Daystar was whether the network could survive the storm without losing its soul. Behind the scenes, tension grew as internal conflicts clashed with the public image Daystar had carefully curated. The hopeful symbol of family unity, displayed daily on programs showing wholesome conversations, suddenly felt hollow. The family meal that viewers were invited into was more complex and darker than anyone imagined. This unsettling reality raised profound questions about how institutions like Daystar handle crises that hit too close to home. The initial shockwaves were soon followed by a steady trickle of withdrawals, signaling deeper unrest among those who once stood firmly beside the Lamb family. Major ministries and familiar faces faced a difficult choice: stay and risk association with controversy, or quietly leave and protect their own credibility. The industry began to watch closely as the cracks widened, waiting to see if the network's foundation could hold or if it would crumble completely. Transitioning from the initial fracturing at Daystar, it's important to understand the network's rise and the image it built. Building the Daystar Empire. Daystar Television Network was launched in 1998 by Marcus and Joni Lamb as a small ministry broadcasting from Texas, and it grew into a global powerhouse in Christian media. Over the next 25 years, Daystar expanded its reach to tens of millions of households worldwide, becoming the second-largest Christian TV network behind only one other. This was no ordinary ministry. It was a media empire that shaped faith conversations for millions. At its core, Daystar sold a vision of family and faith unified, a foundation that fueled its growth and appeal. Much of Daystar's identity revolved around the image of the Lamb family gathered around a table, discussing life, faith, and hope openly and honestly. The flagship program, Joni Table Talk, became synonymous with this concept, offering viewers a sense of intimacy and trust. The table symbolized warmth, togetherness, and accountability. It was the network's brand and emotional anchor for years. To fans, Daystar was more than television. It was a spiritual home where family values were modeled on screen. However, Daystar was not just about the lambs. The network hosted around 100 different programs, showcasing some of the most prominent figures in charismatic and prosperity gospel circles. These ministries relied on Daystar's platform for their own growth, making the network a central hub in the Christian media world. The trust associated with Daystar's family image extended to these other voices, creating a powerful but fragile ecosystem of influence and expectation. This image of unity and trust helped to convince viewers and donors that Daystar was a safe and reliable ministry to support. The carefully curated public persona boosted the network's fundraising and viewership, reinforcing the Lamb family's leadership role. But the growing empire also meant more complexity behind the scenes. The intertwining of family, ministry, and business created pressures not easily visible to outsiders. Marcus Lamb's role in this story was pivotal. As co-founder, president, and the face of Daystar, he provided steady, charismatic leadership for over 2 decades. His presence commanded respect, and many assumed his leadership would pass smoothly to the next generation. The network's foundation felt solid, firm enough to sustain growth and weather challenges. But beneath this surface, some simmering tensions were waiting for a catalyst. The family itself was very much entwined with the network's operations. Joni Lamb co-founded the network alongside Marcus, and their children, including Jonathan, were involved in its leadership and programming. The table was both literal and figurative, a symbol of the family's central role in the ministry. This blending of family and business can be a source of strength, but also risked blurring lines where oversight and accountability should exist. Behind every empire lies a moment that tests its strength. And for Daystar, that moment came unexpectedly soon after the loss they all feared. The death that shifted power. On November 30th, 2021, Marcus Lamb died from complications related to COVID-19, leaving a leadership void at the heart of Daystar. His death was a profound loss, not only for his family, but for millions of viewers who considered him a spiritual guide. The network mourned publicly, sharing the grief with its audience, but the more private question loomed large: who would take his place at the head of the table? The answer would reveal fractures many had not seen before. Joni Lamb, Marcus's widow and co-founder, stepped into the role of president, assuming leadership of the network and its vast operations. This decision was critical and unexpected to some, especially given the presence of their son Jonathan, who had served as vice president and was widely assumed to be the natural successor. The shift in power dynamics exposed undercurrents of tension that had remained beneath the surface for years. Jonathan Lamb's exclusion from the top role sparked speculation and ultimately became part of a deeper conflict within the family. To outsiders, it might seem like a routine decision, but within the Lamb family, it catalyzed a bitter rift. Some viewed Jonathan's sidelining as a matter of performance or readiness, while he and his supporters framed it as the beginning of a personal and organizational struggle that would darken the network's future. Following Marcus's death, family loyalty was put to the test in ways few could have imagined. The person in charge of carrying forward the Daystar legacy was not the son many expected, but the mother, with nearly all other family members publicly rallying around her leadership. This alignment heightened divisions, leading to a fracturing of trust, not only within the family but throughout the network. In the process, some voices inside Daystar began to be marginalized. These internal struggles coincided with serious allegations surfacing about events that had allegedly taken place years before, tied to family members and involving abuse concerns. The timing intensified the fallout as suspicions and accusations intersected with leadership decisions. The family's handling of the situation quickly became a subject of intense scrutiny and debate, shining a harsh light on the network's governance. Jonathan Lamb claimed that his removal from leadership was linked to his refusal to stay silent about these family issues. According to reports, he was first demoted and later fired, with the official reasons citing performance. But insiders suggested retaliation for breaking a code of silence. This move to silence dissent added fuel to the growing controversy surrounding the Lamb family and Daystar itself. The network's image faced its greatest test, as viewers and ministry partners wrestled with the disconnect between the tidy public family narrative and the emerging reality of conflict and silence behind closed doors. Questions about succession were not just about who led the network, but about whether the institution could maintain moral authority amid turmoil. Losing its founder was painful enough. Losing its integrity was something else entirely. The eruption of accusations and denials that followed forced many to reconsider their loyalties. The accusations surface. The simmering tensions within the Lamb family erupted publicly in late 2024, when Jonathan Lamb and his wife Susie shared a deeply troubling allegation. They claimed that several years earlier, during an executive retreat at a rented beach house, a male relative, known only by the pseudonym Pete, was found alone with their young daughter. According to Jonathan and Susie, the child eventually disclosed that she had been harmed. This moment shattered any remaining illusion of harmony and thrust the private family conflict into a harsh spotlight. What fueled the scandal was not simply the allegation itself, but the response Jonathan and Susie say they received when they brought their concerns to Joni and Marcus Lamb. According to their account, rather than rallying to protect the child, the parents defended the accused relative and insisted on his innocence. They claimed that Joni urged them not to involve the police and stated that God had revealed to her that the man was innocent. This specific statement, "God told me he's innocent," has become pivotal in shaping public perception and defining the scandal. Before her passing in May 2026, Joni Lamb vehemently denied these allegations, calling them not only false, but part of a deliberate smear campaign from a son embittered by losing the network's presidency. She maintained that Jonathan's removal was related to performance issues and that there was never any cover-up. Joni had also accused Jonathan of attempts to blackmail the family and affirmed her commitment to defending her family in a way that honors God. These starkly contrasting accounts created a deep moral impasse with no clear resolution. The relative accused, Pete, has publicly denied all allegations and reportedly underwent 2 polygraph tests, with no evidence implicating him emerging. He was never charged with a crime. Meanwhile, many family members, including Joni's daughters and their spouses, several of whom are also employees and on-air personalities at Daystar, publicly supported Joni's side of the story. This alignment among family members further illustrated the deep division, splitting the network's leadership and its public image. Jonathan Lamb claims that his insistence on transparency came at a high personal cost. Before going public, reports say he was demoted after refusing to sign a non-disclosure agreement and then fired in November 2024, with the official reason given as performance-related. But Jonathan insists the real cause was retaliation for speaking to the media and refusing to stay silent about what he described as a cover-up culture within Daystar. The struggle to impose secrecy only heightened the sense of crisis within the ministry. A key detail that caught public attention was the performance improvement plan Jonathan had been issued, which reportedly prohibited him from posting publicly about leadership decisions. When a ministry's first response to internal dissent is to silence its own vice president, trust among observers begins to erode rapidly. This raised troubling questions about what exactly the network was trying to hide, and whether the culture inside Daystar valued loyalty over truth. With the network's very identity shaken, the pressure on Daystar's prominent figures became impossible to ignore. Industry, fallout, and departures. The shockwaves from the scandal did not stay confined to the Daystar family alone. They rippled right through the broader Christian television industry. As details of the unfolding crisis became public by the end of 2024, some of the network's biggest names quietly began to reconsider their relationship with Daystar. The network's December contract renewal period became a crucial turning point, when several major ministries faced a stark choice: continue standing at the table or walk away from it. The earliest exit was Jack Graham, pastor of one of the largest Baptist churches in the country, who chose not to renew his program's contract. Following Jack Graham, other prominent voices stepped back, many citing the regular cycle of contract endings. But the timing of these departures raised eyebrows, especially when taken together with the scandal engulfing the network's leadership. It quickly became clear this was no ordinary turnover. Among the departures, Jesse Duplantis, a well-known prosperity gospel preacher, announced his exit from Daystar, insisting his decision had nothing to do with the controversy. He credited God for directing the move and emphasized contract completion as the reason. Yet, the close proximity of his departure to the growing scandal told a more nuanced story that few could ignore. Soon after, other influential figures, including Lance Wallnau and Hank and Brenda Kuhneman, also left the network. In just a matter of weeks, at least 6 major ministries receded from Daystar's airwaves, each offering their own explanations but rarely directly addressing the scandal. The coincidence of so many high-profile exits within a narrow time frame spoke volumes. For the network to lose some of its brightest stars simultaneously was a sign of deeper instability than routine programming changes could explain. Then came the departure that sent a shock through the entire industry. Joyce Meyer. Ministries paused her long-running daily program on Daystar in January 2025. Unlike other ministries that maintained a distance from the controversy, Joyce Meyer's withdrawal was widely reported to be directly linked to concerns about how Daystar handled the abuse allegations. Her program's webpage quietly disappeared from the network's site, a rare and telling move in a typically controlled environment. Joyce Meyer's decision reverberated far beyond the network, because few names carry as much weight in American Christian media. With a ministry spanning decades and a massive worldwide audience, her pullout was not just a programming change. It was a seismic shift. Industry watchers understood that when a ministry like hers steps back over leadership issues, it signals that the fault lines beneath the network are serious indeed. With the stage now set and many voices silenced or withdrawn, the story of what comes next lingered like a shadow over the once bright table Daystar had so carefully prepared. The ongoing impact and questions of trust. The fallout from Daystar's scandal has forced a profound reckoning about accountability in Christian media networks, especially those tightly held by families. When the gravest accusations arise within the family leading a ministry, the usual safeguards seem to falter. Daystar is both a religious nonprofit and a family enterprise, blurring lines between personal loyalty and institutional responsibility. This raises difficult questions about how, or if, such organizations can truly investigate themselves and maintain transparency. At the center of this challenge is the fact that the accused, the leadership, and the spokespeople often share the same last name. This concentration of authority and influence limits any meaningful external oversight. Without an independent board or denomination with binding authority, the family effectively governs the narrative. Many observers worry this creates an environment where difficult truths are suppressed, not confronted, a problem that has troubled numerous mega-churches and ministries in recent decades. Despite an official closure of the legal investigation in May 2025, the emotional and spiritual wounds remain open for those involved and watching. The police found no charges to file, and Daystar framed this as a vindication. Yet, the family's own dynamics tell a different story, marked by estrangement, silence, and stories that remain untold. When a daughter carries a secret she is not ready to share, the real healing is delayed, leaving shadows over the ministry's future. The network continues to air its programming, and new faces have filled the chairs left vacant by departing ministries. Yet the absence of some of its biggest names is a silent testament to the costs of this crisis. The table remains set, but some seats are empty for reasons everyone recognizes, but few speak aloud. The loyal audience, the donors, and the broader Christian community now watch with a more cautious eye, aware that something essential was lost beyond what the cameras reveal. What happened at Daystar invites a broader reflection on the structures governing Christian media today. It highlights the dangers of self-governance without accountability and the risks of mixing family ties with ministry leadership unchecked. The question for viewers and supporters becomes not just who leads, but who holds leaders accountable when personal interests entangle with institutional power. The truth of this saga remains complicated, unapologetically messy, and unresolved. No court verdict ultimately determined whose version of events is correct, and much of the story may never be fully known publicly. What is clear is the lasting impact on relationships, reputations, and trust. The family that once sat confidently at the head of the table now faces a profound fracture that might redefine their legacy forever. Daystar's collapse reveals tough truths about family, faith, and leadership in Christian media. When secrets go unspoken, the cost is more than reputation. It's broken trust and lost voices. If this story has made you think twice, hit like and subscribe for more insights like this. Stay informed, stay curious, and thank you for watching.